Thanks, Premier. Good morning, everyone. Look, the situation remains similar to yesterday. Monsoonal low pressure system is in northwest Queensland between Mount Isa and the Gulf of Carpentaria coast. It extends the trough across Cape York Peninsula, bringing that moist onshore airflow to the Herbert and lower Burdekin area. The trough's near stationary, and that's why we're getting this persistent occurrence of very heavy showers and storms affecting the same areas, producing the flooding. So it's particularly of interest in the Herbert catchment, the upper Burdekin at the moment, the Horton and the Ross River catchments. We've seen more rain in the Townsville region overnight, but not quite as much as expected over the Ross River catchment itself. Fortunately for the Ross River situation, the rainfall was a little bit further north around the INGHAM area, and hence the impacts on the flood levels weren't as high as expected, which is a good thing. As the Premier said earlier, the current rainfall totals for the last 7 days at Townsville Airport are an all-time record. It's surpassed the Night of Noah event of 1998 in Townsville. We've had 7-day rainfall totals of 1,012 millimetres to be precise, to 9 AM this morning, smashing the previous 7-day record of 886 millimetres in 1998. And that also beats the 10-day record, though we haven't got to the 10-day mark yet. The 10-day record for Townsville's 925 back in 1953, so it smashed that one as well. Currently we have severe weather warnings for almost all of the Gulf of Carpentaria coast, including Torres Strait Islands for abnormally high tides, and another severe weather warning current for much of North Queensland. West of the Dividing Range, we're still talking about heavy rainfall in the range 75 to 125 millimetres in 6 hours, and damaging wind gusts possible up to around the 100 km/h mark. But east of the Dividing Range, it's the heavy rain that's still persisting from INGHAM to BOWEN, although that area has now been extended down to Mackay in the most recent update to that severe weather warning that's on our website. But the amount of rainfall is still pretty much the same in terms of intensity, expecting 6-hour totals reaching 150 to 200 millimetres, and isolated occurrences of even 300 millimetres in just a few hours. The possibility of wind gusts also exists with the onshore flow, and there is some chance of tornadoes forming in that onshore flow as the convergence lines feed into the monsoonal low and cross the coast. There's enough favourable wind shear to make that possible, so we are putting out a heads up, I guess, for the possibility of those destructive winds associated with storms of that size, of that type. We've used the SUS, also known as the cyclone siren, a few times already in this event. We've applied that in sort of short bursts when there are events of very, very heavy rain, and also that's been associated with, usually associated with emergency alert messages from state and local government. So we've used that several times already, and we'll continue to do that for the most intense of hazards as they occur. Right now we've got major flood warnings for the Flinders and Cloncurry rivers, the Horton River, the Ross River, and the upper Burdekin River, and we're just going to pay attention closely to that upper Burdekin region as it pans out over the next few days. But as was mentioned before, the impacts to the lower Burdekin are still yet to be assessed in detail. There's numerous other moderate and minor flood warnings that you can check out on our website for detail. But in terms of the Ross River at Apple and Weir, It's currently 2.5 metres and still rising, but based on forecast rainfall now, it's not likely to reach that major level anymore. So that will be updated in our next update to that warning. I might add though that the recession of the waters in Townsville is going to be slow. It's not going to go down very quickly. It might take a couple of days. It might stay at the levels it's at for quite some time. The Bureau is working really closely with Townsville City Council and Sunwater to give the best predictions possible around the Ross River Dam, but it's still a rapidly fluctuating event, and I'd urge people to stay tuned to warnings from the Bureau and listen to messages from state and local authorities.
A special thank you to Shane at Townsville Storms for allowing access to some video content. BOWEN Meteorology has a severe weather warning for Derringer winds and normally high tides currently in place for the Peninsula Gulf Country forecast districts, and with the tidal inundation monsoonal squalls across the Gulf Coast and the Cape York Peninsula. A vigorous slow-moving monsoon trough lies across North Queensland and extends from Townsville to Gregory Springs and into a deep semi-stationary tropical low that's Invest 96P and is located about 200 kilometres north of Mount Isa. To the north of the monsoon trough and tropical low, a strong to gale force west to northwesterly monsoonal wind flow extends through the Gulf of Carpentaria, Torres Strait waters. Water levels on the high tide or high tides could exceed the highest tide of the year on the Gulf of Carpentaria coast between the Northern Territory border, Cape York, as well as all Torres Strait Islands over the next few days. Monsoonal squalls with gusts to 90 kilometres an hour may also develop north of Port, particularly with thunderstorms locations which may be affected include Reaper or Torres Strait Islands, Arakoon, Old Mapoon, Port, Koombra, Mornington Island and the coast near Burdekin. And now we have a look at the upper level divergence, wind shear, 24-hour shear tendency, and finally the A50 millibar vorticity. As mentioned in our previous updates, there's numerous amount of information. We will bring as much of it to you as soon as possible, and we're keeping an eye on the tropical low.
You can follow Force 13's outlets, the website force13.com, our YouTube page youtube.com/Force13, on Facebook under the same name Force13, and our Twitter handle, it's @Force13 if you wish to get in touch. You can also add Force 13 on Skype and my personal account on Discord, Fool13, at extension 9094.